Let's talk about energy. Canada supplies 20% of America's electricity. That's enough power for the entire state of California. But here's where the geography gets really interesting.
What?
Most of this power comes from hydroelectric dams in Quebec and British Columbia. And it all flows south through a handful of transmission lines that cross the border.
Welcome back to another reaction video. Clock it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this would be one of the most shocking videos that we have done on this channel.
Oh my god.
I tell you.
Oh yes.
I genuinely thought that the United States was like, not like United States was like the big brother, right? Kind of like taking care of Canada. Yeah, that's what I thought, right? This video is titled "How Canada Quietly Holds America's Survival." That means that Canada, the US depends on Canada.
Yeah.
Which is
what? How?
This is something I did not know. If you can, as a Canadian, please don't take this out of like point of disrespect, right? Not disrespecting you. I just did not know about your country.
Oh my god.
Right? Yes. I know America is a big, powerful country. I love the US, but I didn't know about Canada, and I'm pleasantly surprised to hear this.
Oh yes, I for one.
Boom.
I did not really used to know
much about Canada.
Yeah. So I'm so happy we started this. I get to learn a lot every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet Oliver.
Oliver.
Everyone thinks America protects Canada, but Canada actually controls America's survival. And most Americans have no idea. But here's what nobody talks about. Canada quietly holds the keys to 3 things that could bring America to its knees overnight. I'm about to show you why geography made Canada the most powerful country America can never conquer, and why every US president secretly fears the day Canada figures this out. Look,
so Canada hasn't figured out
US-Canada relations. They picture America as the big brother protecting little Canada. The
True.
US has 10 times Canada's population, 15 times the military budget, and the world's most powerful economy. But here's the thing about geography. It doesn't care about your military budget. And Canada sits on top of 3 geographic advantages so powerful that they could theoretically shut down half of America without firing a single shot. The craziest part? Most Canadians don't even realize the power they're sitting on. Therefore, they've never used it. But geography doesn't lie. And the numbers I'm about to show you will change how you see North America forever.
Oh wow.
Wow.
The water.
I told you. I told you.
I'm just surprised.
I told you that Canada is proven to be nothing like I've heard before. About the US, of course, before we were doing videos about the US, we hear about the US on the news and so many times. But Canada, I just don't get the chance to learn about Canada. And here is the turn to learn about Canada.
Yes, not Canada.
And it's surprised that Canada produces more oil
than the US.
I don't know. No, not than the US, but they hold more oil than the US. They don't produce more oil than the US. But they hold more oil than the US.
Wow.
I don't know if they're like number 3 or number 4 with oil reserves like that. I'm telling you. I tell you.
Not Canada.
Canada.
Let's start with the most terrifying one. Water.
Okay.
Canada controls 20% of the world's fresh water. That's more than any other country on Earth. But here's where it gets scary for America. The Great Lakes system, which provides drinking water to 40 million Americans, flows through Canada. Therefore, let me paint you a picture. Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, all of these connect through Canadian territory. The St. Lawrence Seaway that carries this water to the Atlantic runs right through Quebec. But it gets even worse. The Niagara River that connects Lake Erie to Lake Ontario, Canadian border. The Detroit River connecting Lake Huron to Lake Erie, Canadian border. Canada could theoretically control the water supply to Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, Buffalo, and dozens of other major American cities. And we're not just talking about drinking water. The Great Lakes system powers hydroelectric plants that provide electricity to millions of Americans. It's the shipping route that carries iron ore from Minnesota to steel plants in Pennsylvania. Therefore, if Canada ever decided to restrict water flow through their territory, they could shut down American steel production, cut power to major cities, and create the worst water crisis in US history. But here's the geographic
Jesus. Worst water crisis. Do you know the implication that can come with water crisis?
So many countries are about to like go to war because of water crisis. For example, is Egypt and Ethiopia. River Nile is originating from Ethiopia, and Ethiopia is damming the river, the great Renaissance Dam of Ethiopia. And Egypt is about to attack Ethiopia because they are restricting water from flowing to Egypt.
Yeah.
And you took a look about other countries between India and Pakistan. There's a dam that it's restricted between India and Pakistan not to restrict water because India is accusing Pakistan of water of terrorism and stuff like that. So water is a very serious thing.
Very, very serious. You know that when people don't have water, they begin to fall sick just a lot because they are bound to drink dirty any water that they see, dirty water, just to survive for that moment.
That's crazy. Canada.
Oh, water is life. Even biology says it all.
Oh.
Water is life.
The medical student in her is coming out.
Clockade.
Down American steel production, cut power to major cities, and create the worst water crisis in US history. But here's the geographic nightmare that keeps Pentagon planners awake at night. America can't do anything about it. You can't invade Canada to secure water rights. The border is 5,500 miles long, longer than the distance from New York to London, and most of it runs through wilderness that would make Afghanistan look like a parking lot. Therefore, America's entire industrial heartland depends on water that flows through a country they can't control and can't conquer. The geographic reality is simple. Canada holds America's most vital resource hostage, and there's nothing America can do about it except hope Canada stays friendly.
I do really feel like America could invade Canada if they wanted to.
Yeah.
They can, but the thing is, Americans and Canadians will not accept to go to war against each other. Absolutely no American population will accept that the US should invade Canada, and no Canadian population will accept to take an invasion lying down.
Yes.
So I think that what I've always observed was that Canada and America are such close friends that by the nature of the people across the boundary that the same country.
You see, right?
Yeah. It's just lately that Donald Trump has come to separate the country by politicians. Yeah, so calling the Prime Minister of Canada as the Governor of Canada, which is really disrespectful. It's insulting, right?
Directly insulting.
Yeah. I love the US. I always really like to see the US and Canada being like friends and things like that. Yeah. Not like all the heavy tariffs and things like that. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this, we love you
so much. Please don't forget to subscribe.
You're saying something?
I was saying that they should not forget to subscribe.
All right, please do subscribe. We're going to be leaving our videos for our city, about our country on our Patreon, so you can also support us. Also, not to mix the videos with Canadian videos.
And confuse the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm.
So understand us. Next point
is just the beginning. Let's talk about energy. Canada supplies 20% of America's electricity. That's enough power for the entire state of California. But here's where the geography gets really interesting. Most of this power comes from hydroelectric dams in Quebec and British Columbia, and it all flows south through a handful of transmission lines that cross the border at very specific geographic points. Therefore, Canada could theoretically black out the entire northeastern United States just by flipping a few switches. But it gets worse. Canada is also America's largest oil supplier. They send 4 million barrels of oil per day to the US through pipelines that run from Alberta to refineries in Texas, Illinois, and Oklahoma. And here's the geographic choke point that should
pipeline run from Alberta to Texas in the south, over here on the Mexico border. Oklahoma, right next to Arkansas. Illinois, right next to Ohio. Jesus Christ. What Indiana?
This is becoming serious than I thought.
I didn't know this kind of thing existed.
Wow. Through pipelines that run from Alberta to refineries in Texas, Illinois, and Oklahoma. And here's the geographic choke point that should terrify every American. Most of this oil flows through a single pipeline system called Enbridge. If Canada ever shut down Enbridge, gas prices in America would double overnight. Therefore, the entire American economy would grind to a halt. But here's what makes this even more dangerous. Canada's energy infrastructure is designed to flow south. The geography forces it. The Canadian Shield, that massive granite formation that covers half of Canada, creates natural barriers that funnel energy resources toward the US border. Therefore, Canada's entire energy economy is built around supplying America. But that also means Canada has built the perfect geographic weapon without even realizing it. And unlike oil from the Middle East that has to cross oceans, Canadian energy flows through pipelines and power lines that are impossible to defend. The US-Canada border crosses mountains, forests, and wilderness areas where a small team could sabotage critical infrastructure and disappear without a trace. Therefore, America's energy security depends on 5,500 miles of undefended border running through some of the most remote terrain on Earth. But here's the really crazy part. This geographic vulnerability is getting worse, not better. As America transitions to renewable energy, they're becoming even more dependent on Canadian hydroelectric power. And as American oil production shifts to harder to extract sources, Canadian oil becomes more critical. Therefore, every year that passes, Canada's geographic stranglehold on American energy gets tighter.
Bro, the Arctic Gateway.
Wow. At this point, I now see a reason why I think if Canada and US were friends, would have really...
They are friends.
They had been friends before.
And they are still friends.
Not like
Canada and the US are still friends.
Yeah, but not like before.
They just don't like US politicians.
Yeah,
and which of course is primarily Donald Trump.
No, I really get it. I get it.
So it's not like Canadians hate the US. They don't. And the US people don't hate Canada.
As well.
Yeah, it's just the politicians between Canada and the US, they don't see eye to eye, which is of course launched by Donald Trump. And I absolutely don't condone that. It's not good. Yes. Canada. Canada deserves way more respect than I would ever give it. And at this point, take all the flowers and the respect, Canada.
Yeah.
Yes. This country is beautiful.
So beautiful.
Powerful
so
and blessed.
Yeah. It's so blessed. The blessed part of it is...
But the most dangerous geographic advantage Canada has over America is one most people have never heard of: the Arctic. Climate change is melting the polar ice cap, and that's opening up new shipping routes through the Arctic Ocean. Therefore, these routes could become the most important trade highways in the world. And guess who controls access to them? Canada. The Northwest Passage, the Arctic shipping route that connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, runs entirely through Canadian territorial waters. Therefore, Canada could theoretically control shipping between Asia and Europe, cutting America out of the most lucrative trade routes on the planet. But here's where the geography gets really interesting. The Arctic isn't just about shipping, it's about resources. The Arctic Ocean contains an estimated 13% of the world's oil reserves and 30% of its natural gas. And most of the land-based access to these resources runs through Canadian territory. Therefore, as the ice melts and these resources become accessible, Canada will control access to some of the largest untapped energy reserves on Earth. But it gets even more strategic. The Arctic is becoming the new front line in the competition between America, Russia, and China. Russia is building military bases across their Arctic coastline. China is investing billions in Arctic shipping infrastructure. And America? America has to ask Canada for permission to access most of the Arctic. Therefore, Canada sits between America and the most strategically important region of the 21st century. But here's the geographic nightmare scenario that keeps military planners awake. What if Canada ever aligned with China or Russia? China is already Canada's second largest trading partner. They're investing heavily in Canadian mining and energy companies. And they're building infrastructure to ship Canadian resources directly to Asia through the Arctic. Therefore, Canada could theoretically cut America out of Arctic trade entirely and redirect their resources to China instead. And there's nothing...
That's a nuclear option. That one is a wild one. I never saw this one coming. Yeah, because I remember that the Canadian Prime Minister, when after tariffs were was levied on Canada by Donald Trump, the Canadian Prime Minister went and signed a major trade deal with China, allowing Chinese EVs, electric vehicles, to be sold in Canada.
Yeah.
And mostly Canada used to get their vehicles from the United States. You see, so this one I can see exactly what he means, and it's not something I would like to see. I would like to see China align, Canada align with China. I love them to be more friends with the US, but anyways, I would think that Canadians know that the U.S. presidency rotates every 4 years. So in the next 3 years, Donald Trump will no longer be the U.S. president,
and everything will obviously come back to normal.
Yeah. So, but of course, I'm not like going into U.S. politics. Donald Trump can do whatever he has to do with his country. That one is up to him. Yeah. So, but I just don't like some rhetorics that he does, like with respect to Canada and the friends in Europe.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. But anyways, we are going to be linking our European channel sometime in the future for you guys to check it out.
Yeah, please head in there, check it out, and thank you.
Thank you in advance.
America out of Arctic trade entirely and redirect their resources to China instead. And there's nothing America could do about it. The Arctic is too remote to invade, too vast to control, and too important to ignore. Therefore, America's...
I want you to hear this. Hear this. Hear this.
Too vast.
Hold on. I want to read this text on the screen. Hold on. Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
The Arctic is too remote to invade, too vast to control, and too important to ignore.
Hear words.
Too important to ignore.
Too important to ignore. Too vast to invade. Too vast to control.
Therefore, America's future dominance depends on a country they can't control, maintaining access to a region they can't reach.
The mineral monopoly.
But there's one more geographic advantage that makes Canada truly dangerous: critical minerals. Canada controls massive reserves of lithium, cobalt, nickel, and rare earth elements. These are the materials that power electric car batteries, solar panels, and wind turbines.
Wow.
Therefore, as America transitions to renewable energy, they're becoming completely dependent on Canadian minerals. But here's where the geography creates a perfect storm. Most of these minerals are located in northern Canada, the same remote regions that are impossible to defend and impossible to invade. And China knows this. They're already investing billions in Canadian mining operations, buying up mineral rights, and building infrastructure to ship these materials directly to Asia. Therefore, Canada could wake up one day and realize they control the materials that power the global economy. But here's the really scary part for America. Canada doesn't need American permission to sell these minerals to China. The geography works in China's favor. Arctic shipping routes make it cheaper to ship Canadian minerals to Asia than to American factories. Therefore, market forces are already pulling Canadian resources away from America. And if America ever tried to pressure Canada to restrict mineral exports to China, Canada could retaliate by cutting off water, energy, or Arctic access. Therefore, America is trapped in a geographic dependency they can't escape and can't control.
This is crazy.
Now, you might be
Never
thinking,
heard of this.
but Canada would never use these advantages against America. They're allies. And you're probably right. But here's the thing about geography. It doesn't care about current politics. Alliances change, governments change, but geography is forever. And as Canada becomes more aware of their geographic advantages, they're starting to use them. Look at the recent disputes over Arctic sovereignty. Canada is asserting control over Arctic shipping routes and charging fees for passage. Look at the energy sector. Canada is building pipelines to ship oil to Asia instead of America, reducing their dependence on US markets. Therefore, Canada is slowly realizing they don't need America as much as America needs them. And climate change is accelerating this shift. As the Arctic opens up, Canada gains access to new markets and new resources that don't require American cooperation. Therefore, the geographic balance of power in North America is shifting, and most Americans have no idea it's happening. So the next time someone says America protects Canada, remember, geography tells a different story. Canada controls America's water, energy, Arctic access, and critical minerals. In other words, it quietly holds more power over America's future than any other country on Earth. And the wildest part? Most Canadians don't even realize it. But geography doesn't lie. And in the game of global power, the one who controls the resources controls the future. America may have the bigger military, but Canada has something even stronger: geography. If you thought Canada was just the friendly neighbor up north, think again. This is just the
I'm
beginning.
thinking again.
I'm diving deep into how geography shapes power, conflict, and survival across the globe. And trust me, the next twist will blow your mind. So hit subscribe and stay tuned. The next episode might just change the way you see the world map forever.
Oh God. Wow. This video changed me forever.
Oh, seriously?
It changed me forever, like forever.
I had no idea about all of this.
Absolute freaking loadly not.
Wow.
Jesus Christ. What? But anyways, this is what I'm going to throw in there as a caveat.
Okay.
I do not like to see Canada and the US go into some dispute or whatever. I would like to see that all these political cahoots goes out and they become like the close friends that they used to be
before.
Yeah, they be good friends with mutual respect.
Yeah, I think these two countries, if actually the politicians were doing a favor, they are these particular two countries are the countries that can actually build a wall.
Yeah, they are good. Their economies are strong, and their population love each other.
They have the spirit of loving, caring, which is actually very good. Some countries don't really have that spirit of love, care.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this channel and this video, watch these other videos on your screen.
Yeah, and subscribe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Respect, Canada.